Hello, Dark Reader, and welcome to the Dark Side of the Library podcast. I'm your host, Katie, and with me is Creepy Carrie.
Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about all of the non-fiction reads coming out January of 2023. My brain's still not here yet, but I'm getting there. So, Carrie, why don't you kick us off with your first nonfiction read today?
Well, this is a book I was going to send Katie for her birthday, which is in January.
Yes.
But we don't say exactly what date because of stalker prevention.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. But Katie started getting overwhelmed with the wonderful merchandise from our Amazon Live show, where we are over on Amazon Live streaming about horror games, trivia, comics, graphic novels, and of course, dark books. So she's like, don't send me anything else. So we're going to chat about the book I was going to send Katie. It's called Bottled Magic, A Modern Witch's Guide to Spell Jars.
Ooh.
It comes out January 17. It's by Morgana, and it's a complete guide to crafting spell jars and taking your magic into your own hands. There's 50 recipes to get you started with using magic as power and wielding it. In Bottled Magic, Morgana teaches you how to wield this power and bottle it and manifest your ultimate desires and feel more connected to your inner self than you ever thought possible.
Ooh.
So it's a mix between witchcraft and self-help, and there's an array of rituals that go along with the 50 spell jar recipes: social, pet, business, protection, love, money, spiritual, etc. It looked really cute. The cover has this darling illustration of, although it's pink, it's not very dark, a spell jar with little plants inside it, and I was thinking of Katie when I saw it. The publisher is one I've never heard of. It's called Ripe Avocado Witch, which makes me think this is self-published, but that's okay in this instance because it looks adorable. It's
Cute.
Bottled Magic, A Modern Witch's Guide to Spell Jars.
That's adorable. I'm sorry, Carrie. You can send me things. It's
pretend
fine.
It showed up and it was gift wrapped and you were like, oh my god, best present ever.
I will. I'm doing it right now. My next book is also witchy. We actually do have quite a few witchy books this month, which is cool. It is called The Field Guide to Witches, an artist's grimoire of 20 witches and their worlds. This already came out on January 3rd. This is by an editor called 3D Total Publishing. So step into the world of witchcraft, both good and evil, where the iconic character of myth and legend is once more brought uniquely to life. So from the first alleged witch to be hanged in Salem, and Goya's depictions of witchcraft, to Shakespeare's Macbeth, Hogwarts, and beyond, there is no shortage of inspiration, but also of recycled characterizations and central casting stereotypes. Now, 30 of the world's most talented fantasy and concept artists discovered their own personal manifestation of the witch. Ooh, this is cool.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. Starting with research, readers will witness the alchemy of details extracted from the seemingly mundane transformed the whole body of the witch, fantastical yet unnervingly believable at the same time. The design process goes on to cast spells not only on appearance, but also the environment, practices, and magical belongings of this one-of-a-kind witch, with the final design depicted as both a line drawing and in full color. The whole character and their world is defined. So this is a 320-page book about different kinds of witches done by different artists with backgrounds, behaviors, strengths, weaknesses, etc. I can only see the cover of this, which sucks because the cover is great, so I want to see everything else. It is really pretty. So this is called The Field Guide to Witches. This is by 3D Total Publishing.
My next book just got pushed out. It was supposed to come out in January, and now we have to wait till September.
Oh my goodness.
It's called Ghostlight by Keith Carter, who has photographed southern wetlands with moss-draped trees and dark water that obscures mysteries below and eerily beautiful places with ghost stories and haunting ethereal light. It's a collection from the photographer Keith Carter, and it captures the otherworldly spirits of swamps, marshes, bogs, bayous, and fens in more than 100 photographs.
Whoa.
So we will have to wait to see that till September 5. That's Ghostlight by Keith Carter.
My next book also got pushed, but luckily only until March. So that's a little better. This is called The Green Mysteries, an Occult Herbarium. It is a complete lexicon of the spiritual, magical, and occult properties of plants. This comes out. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. So this comes out March 21st. It's by Daniel A. Schulke, and Benjamin A. Vierling does some illustrations that is throughout this entire novel. There are more than 400 individual entries focusing on occult herbs and plant power and spirit, which is very cool. It also says a lot of these include trees and herbs from the Americas, as well as European plants familiar to students of the Western esoteric tradition. So keep that in mind. We learn about herb lore, folk magic, myth, and religious and occult traditions, which is cool because there is sometimes some overlap there. There's encyclopedic plant entries. There's short narratives that talk about all of those things, how they are growing in the wilderness, the wild itself, and how they are used in your spiritual practices, how they're linked to gods and myths throughout the entire world, and even psychological states. It's a cool book. It is 476 pages. It's a big book.
Wow.
And it looks like it's going to be a little pricey. It's $87, but it's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. It's called The Green Mysteries. This is by Daniel A. Schulke and Benjamin A. Vierling.
Well, I have a paperback that's also really expensive because it's $24.99, but that's better than the hardcover, which is $73. This book is James Warren, Empire of Monsters, the man behind Creepy, Vampirella, and Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, or zines, etc. So Bill Schelly is the author and award-winning biographer, and he digs beneath the hype and myth-making to tell the true story of James Warren, one of the 20th century's most influential and independent publishers. They have lots of anecdotes about him and pictures, of course, from the magazines. He was in the Korean War. He started Warren Publishing, etc., etc. And he interviewed the colleagues, including Frank Frazetta. There's unpublished interviews from other artists like Bernie Wrightson, Richard Corbin, etc. So this originally came out in 2019, and now it is in paperback from Fantagraphics. Comes out January 10, which is today. It's James Warren, Empire of Monsters, and it's for hardcore horror magazine collectors.
That sounds super cool. I'm excited to see what's inside that book. My next book is called The Little Book of Tarot. Hooray! Yeah! It's Discover the Tarot and find out what your cards really mean. Comes out also January 10, so today. This is by Liz Dean. The tarot is a secret system of symbols that has been used for over almost 600 years. I did not know that. I actually thought it was longer. I guess I'm wrong. It's becoming more popular today as people look for meaning and reassurance in our ever-changing and very chaotic world. This form of spiritual counsel can be used to seek answers to life's key questions, such as, will I find success in my chosen career? Will I find true love? What does the future hold? And most importantly, will I be happy? So this book empowers the reader by revealing the knowledge that each card brings and how every reading can give a dynamic understanding of events, personalities, and relationships. There's sample readings and concise interpretations. So Liz Dean is a tarot expert, and she gives you the confidence to approach the cards holistically. Freed from concentrating solely on the meaning of individual cards, you will see this whole thing as more of a journey or a story, which will give you clearer pictures of your past, present, and your future when you do your readings.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of really important because a lot of people will do just single cards and not see how all the cards relate to each other, and that can be really hard for some people. So, hopefully this book, The Little Book of Tarot, might help you. This is by Liz Dean.
Just wanted to interrupt before I chat about my next book. Remind you that we have show notes in our podcast and on our blog at darksideofthelibrary.com. And we publish to Facebook and Instagram at Dark Side of the Library. We also have a little YouTube channel. You'll be able to check out the show notes and visit our affiliate links if you want to learn more about these books. We also encourage you to get them from your local library if possible as well. My next book is Magick and Witchcraft, An Illustrated History by Ruth Clydesdale. It came out on January 3, 2023. They write that witchcraft was once used to influence the unpredictable aspects of life, such as crops, health, and livestock protection. With people feeling powerless against ill fortune, it became easy to blame malevolent magic and the figure of the witch. But witchcraft today is a benevolent religion that's unrelated to the historic fantasy, but which often employs ancient magical techniques like puppets and charms. So this history will cover our perceptions of it that's developed over the centuries, from the glamour of witches depicted in art such as Circe, Medea, Morgan Le Fay, and Nimue, to famous historical incidents such as the witch trials and Christian suppression of pagan temples. The reader will be led on a journey of discovery. It's beautifully illustrated, and it's a fresh approach to the extensive and complex history of witchcraft and magic. I think I need it. The publisher is Sirius, spelled like the dog star, not spelled like the word serious. It's Magick and Witchcraft, An Illustrated History by Ruth Clydesdale.
Beautiful. My next book is actually the 40th edition of the Cabinet of Curiosities. So this comes out January 14th. This is by Giulia Carciotto and Antonio Paolucci. I actually have never looked through the cabinet, like a Cabinet of Curiosities book at all, and I'd love to do that. So these are just basically a collection of photos of objects or artistic that are from many strands of artistic, scientific, and intellectual places in the world throughout history. Some weird, fun stuff, though, which if you do go to our show notes and check out our Amazon link, you'll find some of those photos that feature some of these things in this book. It's pretty magnificent, just the things that we as humans have done throughout history. It's really cool stuff. So I recommend checking it out. It is the Cabinet of Curiosities 40th edition, comes out January 14th.
My next book actually came out about 11 days ago. It came out in December 2022. It is Reading The Vegetarian Vampire, part of the Palgrave Gothic collection. It's a first edition by Sophie Dungan. It traces the rise of the so-called vegetarian, in quotes, vampire in popular culture and contemporary vampire fiction. It explores how the shift in the diet of some vampires, from human to animal or synthetic blood, responds to a growing ecological awareness that's rapidly reshaping our understanding of relations with other species. The book introduces the trope of the vegetarian vampire, as well as important critical context for its discussions. They include food studies, politics and ideologies of vegetarianism. It draws on references to recent historical contexts, etc., and some of the texts discussed include Interview with the Vampire, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Twilight, The Vampire Diaries, and my favorite, True Blood.
Woohoo!
So the publisher is Palgrave Macmillan. It is a scholarly book. Therefore, the hardcover is $49. The paperback is $52.
What?
And the author is Sophie Dungan, and it's Reading the Vegetarian Vampire.
I really actually loved that whole study. It's awesome. It's so cool. All right. My next book is called, and of course I have this book, The Serial Killer Next Door. The Double Lives of Notorious Murderers. This comes out January 31st. This is by Richard Estep. So on the cover, we feature, and I'm noticing that actually Washington State apparently births many serial killers. So I'm a little worried.
Boy.
Of course, yes. So on the cover, we have infamous Gary Ridgway and our Golden State Killer that was just identified not even that long ago, so which is wild. So this book contains the contrast between the ordinary seeming lives that provided cover for their cruel stories and cruel secrets, these serial killers. To their coworkers, neighbors, and others who knew them, they led unremarkable lives. It's very true. Many of their careers included things like pilots, police officers, landscapers, small business owners, realtors, reporters, authors. You can't get away from them. They're everywhere. Nurses, doctors, handymen, everything. So while they simultaneously stalked city suburbs, colleges, college campuses, trailer parks, etc., this book looks at the horrifying stories of nearly 30 malevolent killers and the hundreds of innocent victims who were mistakenly trusted. So some of the people that they feature in this book are Janine Jones, so it's not just male serial killers. We also have Kathleen Folbig, Gary Ridgway, like I said earlier, Robert Lee Yates, so a lot of really big name serial killers. And what this book is trying to say is that it's chilling to realize that many serial killers have created second lives that are completely divorced from the brutality and evils they commit. And it's incomprehensible to think that they are able to flip a switch, transforming them from apparently loving, ordinary men and women into torturous, homicidal slaughterers, essentially.
Yikes.
Yep. So there are 320 pages in this book. And there are about 120 photos and graphics. Things are there's illustrations through the book and a very helpful bibliography and index if you want to continue your education on serial killers. So this is called The Serial Killer Next Door. This is by Richard Estep.
My final book today is The Witches of St. Osyth, or Osyth, sorry. It's by Marion Gibson, and it's spelled Osyth. It's a haunting story of a community torn apart. The Essex witch accusations and trial of 1581 to 1582 are one of the pivotal instances of the destructive wave of misogynistic persecution, which periodically broke over early modern England. It's by Cambridge University Press. It's a scholarly study of the witch trials over in St. Osyth in Essex in England. They found some fresh archival sources and investigated not just the village itself, but also its neighboring Elizabethan hamlets and habitations. The author has revelatory new insights into the 16 women and one man that were accused of sorcery, but it asks wider, provocative questions about the way history is recollected and interpreted. That's The Witches of St. Osyth by Marion Gibson. And that is our final nonfiction dark picks for January 2023. Be sure to hit subscribe if you'd like to download more of our podcasts. Upcoming, we're going to be chatting about dark YA, young adult reads, dark kids books, and we'll start over in February with the dark adult thrillers, horror, gothic, ghostly, haunting, etc. books that are coming out in that month. Be sure to find us at Dark Side of the Library on your favorite social platform, and we'll see you in the next podcast.